Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the final day of the MRCTI Capital Meeting. As you can see, situated behind me is the beautiful Mississippi River, right near the confluence of three rivers coming together. The Missouri, which is right over here, the Illinois, which is right up there. One of the largest confluence regions in North America is situated right behind me. It's a beautiful day here in the Mississippi River Valley, and it's not quite the Potomac, but we'll be going back to the Potomac River Valley back and forth as the morning proceeds. But first, we're going to kick off our press conference. Our stage manager, Brant Thorrington, is going to get us situated in terms of participating electronically, and then I will kick it off from there. Brant, go ahead.
Thank you, Colin. If you're having any technical issues or questions, please feel free to privately message me in the chat function. Or if you're a speaker and you need to be promoted, you can also use that function to message me as well as my cell phone. If you'd like to ask any questions at any time, there is a raise your hand function. You can do that. We can recognize you and allow you to talk. You can also ask any questions in the Q&A portion or the chat. We'll be sure to watch both of those for anything that's incoming. Back to you, Colin.
Thank you, Brant. We've had a tremendous Capitol meeting this year, even though it is virtual, had fantastic and valuable conversations and sessions around one of the most important and historical opportunities that we have here in Middle America, and that is through the newly passed Jobs Act. I'm Colin. I'm the executive director of MRCTI, and we are now going to get our press conference started this morning. We have a great lineup for you and an announcement regarding our infrastructure facility. The first up is our co-chairs, and I'm going to hand it to Mayor Jim Strickland of Memphis, Tennessee. Mayor Strickland.
Thank you very much, Colin. Good morning to everyone. We have a couple announcements before we get to our press conference, but I'm joined here today by my co-chair of the Mississippi Rivers Cities and Towns Initiative, Mayor Errick Simmons of Greenville, Mississippi. Joining us virtually over the last 2 days have been over 30 mayors from across the Mississippi River corridor, as well as U.S. senators, members of Congress, federal agency officials, and representatives from the White House, including the President's Special Advisor for Implementation of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, Mitch Landrieu, former mayor of New Orleans. Just have to make a note, when the White House needed something done, they go to a former mayor, because mayors, we get things done. This morning, we'd like to do three things. Number one, on the eve of the 2022 flood season, we want to provide an update on the critical progress being made regarding our partnership launched with Ducks Unlimited, because dirt is moving and new flood storage is being made. Number two, feature the launch of a new and unique MRCTI infrastructure facility to help all of us, all our cities, with a new level of capacity to compete for grants under the bipartisan infrastructure grant over the next several cycles. And number three, announce the opening of a second environmental impact bond challenge with Quantified Ventures. As Colin said, we do have members of the media participating via Zoom. Once we have completed some brief remarks on the items I've mentioned, we will take questions from the press. But let's begin with our work with Ducks Unlimited and go live on location back to Colin, to a site overlooking the Two Rivers project, as he said, at the confluence of the two rivers, where we will join Mayor Mike Morrow of Grafton, Illinois, Ducks Unlimited Chief Biologist Michael Sertle, and our MRCTI Executive Director, Colin. Go back to you, Colin.
Thank you so much, Mayor Strickland. I'm going to welcome into the frame with me Mayor Mark Morrow from Grafton, Illinois. Mayor, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Colin. and welcome to Grafton.
Thank you. It is a great place to be. A beautiful morning. You wouldn't know it, but apparently everything behind us is going to be covered in about 3 inches of snow.
That's what they're saying, but it'll be gone by Saturday.
That's true. Never a dull moment right here in the valley,
no.
right? So it's a nice 38 degrees here right now. Snowstorm on the way over the next 24 hours, and then 65 degrees on Sunday.
Yes,
It's exciting.
it is.
Yeah. Just as exciting is the project that we're going to be talking about this morning with Ducks Unlimited. And Mayor Morrow, can you tell us a little bit like where we're standing and where we
Yes.
are in your town?
As I said before, welcome to the city of Grafton, Illinois. And we're standing right now on the deck of Aeries Winery, which is the highest location in Grafton. It sits beautifully above the bluffs, and it's over the confluence of the Illinois and Mississippi River, which you can see in the background. The Grafton relies heavily on tourism as our lifeblood. That is our industry here. And therefore, our city is open to the river. We do not have levees. So therefore, we face the river, we embrace it. And that's what the big tourism draw here is for the eagles, for the wildlife that comes in, for the fishing, the marinas, the wineries, all of that, the experience that's here. But when a flood comes, as it did in 2019, they can be devastating. The area that you can see behind us was full of water. And the problem with the 2019 flood was that it came up and it went down and it came up. It was the duration. We need areas where that water can go naturally. And that's why we're very excited, Colin, about this Ducks Unlimited project that's going on right behind us that we're going to hear about, because we rely on natural storage areas for water that can take the ponding away from the city and move it to areas where it can sit. And so we're very excited about that.
And that was one of the unique characteristics of the 2019 flood was it was so long.
It was almost the 1993 flood, most people understand, was that it was a long duration flood and it was very high level.
Mhm.
The 2019 flood was almost about that same level, about 1.5 feet below the 93 level flood. But again, the duration, the long time that it sits on the ground, the water absorbs into the ground and so forth, which again, doesn't help our tourism industry because we couldn't have the people coming here to enjoy the town at that time.
That's right. And that's the case with so many of our cities. What you're looking at is the number one asset that our cities enjoy up and down the Mississippi River, big, medium, and small cities alike. And they don't want to be cut off from the river. They don't want structures that can cut them off from their most valuable asset. And that's where natural infrastructure can play such a valuable role at scale. I'm going to bring in Chief Biologist for the project, Mike Sertle with Ducks Unlimited, to join Mayor Morrow in frame. And he's going to be talking about the project that they are going to be onboarding just upriver from us here to help not just Grafton, Illinois, but also West Alton, Missouri, just across the way, Alton, Illinois, and other cities throughout the Metro East region.
It's a good
Mike.
regional project.
Please join us.
Hi, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Morrow. Thank you, Colin.
You bet.
Thank you once again to all the MRCTI mayors for inviting me to join you during your DC week. As Colin and the mayor have said, we are very excited. Right over our shoulder here, we have a multi-phase, multi-year project that Ducks Unlimited is going to work in partnership with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and their St. Louis staff, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and their National Wildlife Refuge staff to install new infrastructure, increase the wetland basin, the wetland capacity. We believe the final design will nearly double the ability of the wetland capacity that is there now.
That's very exciting.
So, very excited to kick it off, Mayor. One of a number of projects we're working on, working with private landowners right here across the river from your town to permanently protect their floodplains if they so choose. Going to work on more projects upstream from you here. We got things coming up in the St. Louis metro area. Very exciting time. We're super happy to kick this off as one of our first projects in partnership with you.
We're happy to have you. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Michael.
Thank you. Colin?
Yes.
Switch back over to you.
Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you, Mayor. So this is just one of several projects that Ducks Unlimited and the team with Mike profiled at our annual meeting in September, up and down the Mississippi River. And we're just in time, right, Mike?
We are. Yeah.
Flood season is about to get going. And even though, ironically, we're dealing with drought for a lot of the Mississippi River Valley south of us and north of us near the headwaters region, that it doesn't take much to get us over the mark. I am now going to hand it back over to Mayor Simmons, our other co-chair of Greenville, Mississippi. Mayor Simmons.
This is Jim Strickland. I think Mayor Simmons is delayed in joining us, so we'll keep moving along.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Mayor. Oh, no.
Mayor, I'm here, Mayor.
I see you. I'll let you go.
All right, so thank you so much, Mayor Morrow and Mr. Sertle. We're so glad to see these projects moving. And this is just one example of the many projects coming online in the near term, spread over 30 cities in 8 states as described on our annual meeting last September. Next up, we have our announcement on the MRCTI infrastructure facility, the $1.5 trillion with a T spending bill known as the Jobs Act, or the bipartisan infrastructure package, is mostly comprised of funds we have to compete for at the state and federal level in order to better position our corridor. MRCTI has entered into an agreement with a number of partners in Washington, D.C. and along the corridor to provide our cities free consulting to help us on board for the estimated $75 billion in the next 5 years. You can see with the slide that is going up now, the individual states' allocations that will be distributed via the Jobs Act through 2026. What is the MRCT infrastructure facility is the question. The MRCTI infrastructure facility is a consultative body of experts and organizations assembled by MRCTI. We want to thank our wonderful leadership and our wonderful staff and Colin and Brent and all of their team from both the MRCTI Corporate Advisory Board and other executive partnerships. The facility is designed to provide our cities additional capacity to credibly and competitively apply for Jobs Act funds. Job Act funds and grants tended to compete Jobs Act grant applications, but provide even greater value by advising MRCTI cities on their overall Jobs Act competitive strategy, developing capacities critical to the Jobs Act mandates. It is now my honor to introduce the team of partners and experts and organizations that will be working with us to make this possible. Each member of the facility has something to offer, including general strategy and positioning, disaster resilience and mitigation, data analysis, and finally, financial structuring for the cities and towns up along the Mississippi River corridor. James Kim is a partner with Arnold and Porter, and we can begin with him, and we'll tilt to Attorney James Kim at this time to feature his expertise.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Mayor Simmons. On this side, McDermott, I had been priorly working with MRCTI for many years at my last location. Currently, at my current firm at Arnold and Porter, we're looking forward to expand that relationship with MRCTI as being part of this infrastructure facility. We are approximately 1,000 lawyers spread out across 13 offices worldwide. We serve a large majority of the Fortune 250 regarding legal services, and we're looking to bring our expertise with regard to federal funding mechanisms, as well as state government systems and federal government systems, and the regulations and requirements around grant delivery to the table with the rest of our partners here. And I think with the partners that we have in the facility, we have a very nice package of services that we're hoping to bring to allow the mayors up and down the river to take most advantage of the funding that's being made available by the government.
All right, next, we will move to Tim Barfield. He's the president of Csrs. Tim, tell us about your expertise.
Well, thank you, Mayor Simmons. I'm Tim Barfield, the president of Csrs, and we're just really elated to be involved again. It's our second year with MRCTI, and we're just delighted to be involved and lend our expertise to this infrastructure facility. We're an architectural, engineering, planning, project management consulting firm based in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, right here on the Mississippi River. we were founded and our headquarters is here, and we've grown up around many of the issues that many of our communities face, and certainly understand the issues related to, you know, disasters, storms, hurricanes, flooding, all these issues. We have a huge focus of our work is on disaster recovery. But really more and more of our work is focused on resilience. And you know, we do so much work in the infrastructure space and the facility space to help our communities be stronger and smarter in how they deal with all their challenges. So we're excited to be part of this team. We're excited to be working with the team of corporate advisory board members that you have. And I think it's really fascinating how this has all come together with so many partners up and down the Mississippi River who share common challenges, and hopefully we can develop common solutions. So we just elated to be part of the team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we will go to Tim. Thank you so much, Tim. We'll go to Brian Smoliak, who's the partner of 2 Degrees Adapt, for your expertise. Brian.
Thank you, Mayor Simmons. My name is Brian Smoliak. I'm a partner at 2 Degrees Adapt. We are a research and advisory firm based in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota. We're honored to be part of the MRCTI infrastructure facility. We're a collaborator of MRCTI, and what we're really excited to do is to help to make climate resilience actionable for cities all along the corridor. What we do at 2 Degrees Adapt is to localize climate science using our expert knowledge to analyze economic impacts of those climate perils, and then to identify adaptation strategies that can help offset and help communities to continue to thrive. So we are bringing data analysis to the table, being able to gather lots of different data sets together, synthesize them into actionable information. We're bringing together our science, this expert understanding, our wide network, and the connection to the scientific literature, so that what communities get is really this knowledge-based approach, best available methods to inform their decisions and really balance all of their needs. So communities with 2 Degrees Adapt are really going to get an expert partner that gives them the confidence, the knowledge, and the roadmap to help implement these new adaptation strategies. So thanks so much.
Mayor Simmons, are you still there?
I think you can take over, Mayor Strickland.
Oh, okay. Rounding out our group of 4 is our longtime partner, Errick Letsinger, CEO and founder of Quantified Ventures. Errick?
Hey, everybody. Good to see everybody again. We are absolutely thrilled to be part of this team. We've got a long-standing relationship with MRCTI, and it's just been amazing to see you all mayors just punch above your weight. This is an amazing group, and we're thrilled to be part of it. We are an outcomes-based capital firm. We create financial structures that get a lot more sustainability and resilience practices on the field. The way we do that is that we create financial structures that enable investors to connect their return on investment directly to whether the outcomes that you want to see in your communities are actually realized or not, meaning everybody wins. And we've had the great pleasure of working with a handful of cities up and down the Mississippi River to implement some of these financial structures. I think we're living in an incredibly exciting time right now, given the nerdy, weird work that we do at Quantified Ventures, in the sense that you've got 3 massive waves of capital headed your way, in public grants and financing, in philanthropic dollars, and private capital. What we are all about at Quantified Ventures is working with brave leaders like you all to capture as much of that capital and bring it home to your communities to generate the exact outcomes that you want to see happen. And by connecting that capital directly with the outcomes that you want to see, we've got the ability to actually really make a difference together. We couldn't be more excited about the team, and let's go.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you all. I think this is going to help all our cities, big and small. And Colin, thank you and your team for pulling all this together. We're going to talk about our third issue before we get to the press conference. And that is we're announcing the opening of the second Environmental Impact Bond Challenge to deploy outcomes-based financing for 2 of our cities. The first time we did this challenge, we ended up making history with New Orleans using their grant to develop the Mississippi River Valley's first ever green mortgage product for sustainable housing. I'll kick it back to Eric with QV to take it from here.
All right, terrific. Well, this is exciting. We had a successful foray into this world of doing these outcomes-based financing challenges a couple years ago. It's been a ball. Great things have happened. Let's do it again. So here we go. So with the augment of this infrastructure platform that Colin and the team are rolling out here, we've really got the ability to start to tap into some of those other capital streams that we were talking about. So what may be a little different, so I think with this next outcomes-based financing challenge, we have the opportunity to do a lot more bigger projects and a lot more creative projects. We're able to kind of blend a few sources of public, private, and philanthropic capital. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, T. Thomas, who is a former SRF director. At Quantified Ventures, we've been building SRF capacity directly from humans who have been running state programs, because as we all know, SRF language is its own language. You got to speak that language to get that dollar, right? It's like dealing with the Dewey Decimal System and the librarian, right? Can't find a book unless you know the Dewey Decimal System, right? And so similarly, T. Thomas is someone who knows the SRF language. What we're proposing here is to bring the full benefit of that to you all to enable a lot of that last mile work that's hard with these state revolving funds for communities that may not have the internal capacity to pull together applications to acquire that capital. And by the way, before I turn it over to T, I want to just say one thing about SRF money. We think of SRF money as the biggest impact investor on the planet. Let's talk about what that means. What does that mean? It's the best interest rate, 1% money, hard to find. 2, best terms, 29-year money. You kidding me? Unbelievable. 3, how safe is it? Meaning, can you blend private capital with it? AAA rated money. That is called the trifecta, which is why we are investing heavily in bringing SRF capabilities to bear to communities like yourself. With that, I'm going to turn it over to T. Thomas. And I just want to make sure that she gets introduced and gets a chance to explain the work that she's doing.
Great, thanks, Eric. I really appreciate that. As Eric mentioned, SRF is my language. It's what I speak. It's my favorite thing to talk about. Prior to joining QV, I managed all of the water money for the state of Vermont. So clean water, drinking water, state revolving funds. I rewrote all of the SRF legislation and policy to try and enable P3s, natural infrastructure, technology investments, and exactly the type of investments that we're hoping to help all of you get your hands on with this infrastructure bill funding. So we work with partners, cities and partners, municipalities all over the country to strategize SRF. We advocate for those projects. We work directly with the SRF managers, and then we do all of the hand holding because it's those processes aren't necessarily for the weak. So we help get those projects across the line and look for the most resilient, future-looking projects, equitable distribution. So this means that we are we are constantly going to state SRFs and asking them to think bigger, to do more, and make more impactful investments. And that's exactly what we would bring to this challenge and to MRCTI's infrastructure facility work. So we love our partnership with MRCTI and really look forward to helping you all put together all of those, public, private, philanthropic capital that you need. And on a personal note, as a native Iowan, my earliest memories are sandbagging from the '93 flood and distributing food in Southeast Iowa. I'm about a stone's throw from Missouri. So this is something that means a big deal to me because I know how frequently and increasingly damaging and displacing these types of things are. So when you all talk flood of '93, I was there, I get it. I'm gonna go ahead and throw my email and a link to our SRF solutions in the chat. Anyone that's on this call, if you just wanna brainstorm in parallel as this all gets up and going, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email and we will pick up the phone and talk SRF. So thanks everyone.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, T, very much. I'm going to have to Google after this meeting. Do we still use the Dewey Decimal System? I don't know.
I don't know either.
All right, we're now happy to take questions from the press at this point. The only thing I'd ask is if you could first state your name and the news organization you represent, maybe city, it would be appreciated. So, Brant, do I turn it over to you?
We do have one question, Mayor Strickland, from the AP. It asks, how many other natural flood protection projects have received a green light as the Biden administration announces some of the projects that did get money? I know we can probably speak more to the Ducks Unlimited projects if Michael Sertel's around.
Yes, Mike is right here. Mike, you want to join me? Brant, can you repeat the question? It was a question in the chat from the Associated Press. But Brant will read it to you.
Sure. How many other natural flood protection projects have received a green light as the Biden administration announces some of the projects that did get money? I know you can probably speak to the Ducks Unlimited projects, right, Mike?
Yeah, from a Ducks Unlimited and the majority of the projects that we are working on right now have a green light as far as us moving forward with them. In regard to the Biden administration and things like the Jobs Act that have come out, that is going to be part of our partnership with MRCTI to integrate these together and get them moving forward. Hopefully this year. Yeah, I believe is the plan based on what I've seen.
Right. So as the Jobs Act grants hit the street, that's when we'll be moving forward on those. And the good news is a lot of these projects are just so far along already in development and planning and land assemblage. We're now ready for to do that. Yeah,
get the resources to get them on the ground. They're ready to go on the ground. The resources, things like the Jobs Act, that kind of support is what's going to get us there to the finish line.
And just to elaborate on some of the things that some of the specific Job Act programs that we are going to be looking at are, there's a brand new one, the Storm Act grant program, or the Resilience Revolving Loan Fund. That's brand new. That'll come out for the first time. Hopefully around the summer is when that'll hit the street. So that is perfect for this. There's a lot of brick money available. And the good news about, Mike, your projects is, and Mayor Morrow, we have two states right here, right?
And we also have projects that we're working on right now this week on different environmental ways also too. We have 5 hollows that run down to Grafton that take the water from the hills back down into the river. And we're looking at a natural way with Heartland's Conservancy and the Volkert Engineering Company to come up with a grant to be able to do riparian waterways to naturally take that water and flow it and clean it down to the river. So we're very excited about the job acts coming in with the money that's coming in to be able to do that, to look at some of the environmental restoration and natural ways that we can dilute this water and keep it clean.
Now, the good news is for the Mississippi River Valley anyway is we've got Missouri right here, Illinois right here.
Correct.
Your projects help both states.
Yes.
And multiple cities, and that's a key measuring point,
Yes.
especially things like brick.
And when we talk about the brick, this unique to this region is the fact that we have 3 ferries that service this area: the Grafton Ferry, the Golden Eagle Ferry, and the Brussels Ferry, which is a state, but the other 2 are private. We're going to be looking to the Jobs Act to do a regional study to be able to boost those up. Our Grafton Ferry right now only runs on the weekend. We need it to run 7 days a week. So we're looking for the ferry money that's in there to do that. So again, we're very excited about being able to embrace the river, our tourism, and that's going to be a big, big plus for us here in Grafton.
All right, thank you very much, guys. We got a couple more questions. Peter Tubbs has his hand up, Peter.
Hello, hopefully my microphone is open.
Yes.
I'm Peter Tubbs. I work for Iowa PBS on the Market to Market show. We're a farm business show and PBS stations around the country. I'm wondering if there's someone on the call who can walk me through just the process of how are all the projects prioritized? There are so many things that could be done. How do you decide this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and on along?
Oh, yeah, no, it's a great question. So Mike, I'll talk about the 2 degrees adapt vulnerability study. So we needed some science and data to help guide us on where are the most vulnerable spots, where are the most vulnerable communities to the climate situation that we're enduring with the more persistent disasters, and they're getting bigger and bigger every year and longer too. So we worked with, and Brian Smoliak is on the line, 2 degrees adapt to develop one of the largest by geographic stretch non-federal climate vulnerability studies in the country done in 2021. So Brian and Addie and Addie's whole team put that study together. We revealed the results in September, and the results of that study basically guide Mike and our mayors on where do we put these projects, where are the most vulnerable communities, who's in the most danger, and then we go down from there. So we wanted to make sure that all this work was guided by science, empirical data, and also the state of the infrastructure along the river and where it is, because it's in a state of compromise in a lot of places because of so many back-to-back disasters. Mike, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
That was great. And as Colin said, we, with 2 degrees adapt, work with them. We have our own research staff that work very close with Addie and those folks. We use their data. Our research staff look at it. We have GIS staff that take that and we do modeling. We look at things that, as Colin said, what were the prioritizations? Where do we have projects that impact these areas first? And then we step it from there. To how is it prioritized? That's actually a major part of my role with Ducks Unlimited, is helping to prioritize these based on all this data, all this research I receive, and feedback from our biologists and engineers out here in the field.
Yeah, and Brian, I don't know if with 2 degrees, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
I think just that, what we do when we look at projects like this is really setting historical context and then really looking to the future. We take a forward-looking approach with climate projections, and then we always are setting that in the historical context and really looking at what could happen, and then look just to the landscape, working with partners like MRCTI and Ducks Unlimited to see what is possible and what sort of natural infrastructure can take up some of that flood storage. And so I think it's really balancing those 2 things, what could happen and then what the landscape can do for us. So that would be what I would add.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. We do have a written question in the question and answer part. It's from David Murray with Waterways Journal. How much of this grant money would or could be directed specifically to river ports and terminals Or does that depend on how cities and towns frame their applications?
Yeah, so in the Jobs Act, there is, as you know, Dave, there's money for port infrastructure. One of the programs that's most important to us is the Marine Highway Grant Program. That got an infusion of money by the Jobs Act. One of the largest infusions of money that program has ever gotten is part of the Jobs Act. So we were excited to see that. I think a couple of things that our cities are looking at in developing from that grant program is a container on barge movement, as well as beefing up the capacity of our ports, better protecting them. All of the resilience money that we have been talking about can go to protecting not just cities, but can go to protecting ports, which is fantastic. But as for actual port infrastructure expansion and market tapping, that's really where things like the Marine Highway Grant Program really come into play. And of course, all of the DOT money, the majority of the Jobs Act is through DOT. So that's Marine Highway Grant Program, but also all the surface transportation money that's going to be out there to get intermodal freight to and from our ports will be critical. A lot of access points to ports are still gravel roads, And if we can change that, not only does it become better, less noisy, less pollutant truck trips for our cities, but it's more efficient. And so we'll be looking at that, at those opportunities as well. The good news is our cities are not alone in this. They have all of these partners ready to onboard and help them. Arnold and Porter, Quantified Ventures, 2 Degrees Adapt, Csrs, all working together to help our cities get to these funds for free as part of MRCTI. That's really the magic of the partnership and the facility, is that we can offer that. So
we're gonna try to squeeze one more question in, and
Yes.
Peter Tubbs had one more question. Peter.
Thank you. Can someone walk me through like a project like I believe it was Lock 25 and just the general impact these projects will have for agriculture and both the moving of grain downriver and then commodities like fertilizer back upriver? Thanks.
Are you talking about the lock expansion of
Yes.
Nest?
Yes,
Oh,
thanks.
sure. Well, we got one of the guys that actually worked on designing that project, and that is former Colonel Mayor Mark
Correct.
Morrow with the Corps of Engineers. You worked on both the ecosystem restoration
Correct,
piece,
on the
yeah.
fish ladder piece and also on the Lock 25 and so forth.
Mayor,
But-
go ahead.
Well, what the first part is you've got the portion where the Lock 25 has a 600-foot chamber. And what the brick and mortar piece is going to do to that is that's going to include a 1,200-foot chamber so that the tows, when they go through there, they won't have to break in half. And that reduces the passage time and so forth. And then up on Lock 22 on the environmental piece is that they're putting in a fish ladder. And the fish ladder will allow for the passage of fish both going upriver and downriver around the lock, which is very critical at this point because, again, getting the fish through the lock without the fish ladder is very problematic in itself.
Mm-hmm. And our aquatic ecosystem's gone through enough stress with
It
invasive
has.
carp
And that's the interest, the very good part about all these projects that the Corps does is that they have the environmental piece and they also have the brick and mortar piece, which, and again, the modernization needs to happen on the river because Lock 25, if I remember correctly, was started in the mid-30s and it's been working for all that time. And it's a bottleneck because they have to break the tows in half to go for the 600-foot chamber. This will allow them to go through a one piece without breaking in half, cuts the time down from about a 45-minute transition down to about a 10 to 15-minute transition. And this will allow for more product to go up and down the river. One of the things people don't realize is that when you see a standard tow, which is a 3x5 configuration, you're looking at 870 semi-trucks that are taken off the highway. And just being moved by one tow up and down the river, it's the most efficient means of transportation that you can have. Many people will say they're stopped at a railroad crossing or you're in a truck traffic. You've never been stopped in traffic by a tow.
That's right. On the river, that's right, absolutely. Mayor, back to you.
Thank you very much. We're going to end it there because we're just a little bit behind schedule. Next up, we look more at infrastructure financing by announcing the next Environmental Impact Bond Challenge.
Yes, thank you so much, Mayor Strickland, and thank you so much to members of the media for joining us today. If you do have additional questions, you can please reach out to Jim Gwinner. He is our press manager. He can take care and funnel all your questions, interview requests, and any other information that you might have or need to all the folks where it needs to go. I do want to point out two resources that will be online for you. You'll be able to see the landing page for our infrastructure facility. If of interest, Jim's email and number are right there in the chat. If you go to Quantified Ventures /MRCTI, quantifiedventures.com/MRCTI, you'll be able to see the infrastructure facility landing page, get more explanation on that, and it's also at mrcti.org.